Please welcome to the stage, from Deep Insight, Ivar Huckelberg.
Thank you so much for the invitation to come here today to share the story about Deep Insight and how we use AI and mathematics to create a better and more sustainable healthcare service. My name is Ivar, and I'm the Chief Revenue Officer in Deep Insight. And before we dive into the story about us, I want to quickly present the company. And we're founded by mathematicians who believe in using our knowledge to create a positive impact for society. And what better way to do that than using our knowledge in the healthcare sector? So let's take a step back and see the global picture right now that's concerning the healthcare sector. And everyone here today, either themselves or someone you know, will in some point in your life be in need of healthcare services. And the time from you get ill till you get the treatment can be quite psychologically demanding, especially if you constantly get postponed the date you are to be treated or cancel the surgery you have been booked into. And the waiting time is growing longer and longer. How can we solve this when the population is getting older and older? And believe me, I want to get old as well. That's a great thing. But we are also giving birth to fewer people. So we cannot just hire ourselves out of the problem to put more people into the healthcare sector to meet the increasing demand. Instead, we have to think differently around how we utilize the current resources we have. And in that way, still provide sustainable healthcare in the future. That is why Deep Insight is on a mission where we want to help hospitals manage and plan their resources with AI to ensure that as many people as possible receive the help they need when they need it. And for us, where can we make the biggest impact? And for us, that was in the surgery department, one of the core services of the hospitals. And if you look at how the planning is done today, there is immense amount of data going in to making these plans and ensuring the operation runs smoothly. And all these puzzle pieces that are to fit together to create this surgical program is really hard for the planners at hospitals to do when the current tools they use are pen and paper and Excel spreadsheets. They lack good tools and support to actually utilize the resources the best way possible. So the consequence is that the operating room are empty 40% of the time, even though the waiting lists are mile long. So what we then think of is that using AI and backed up by research, we think of planning through demand-driven way, where we actually use AI and predictive models to understand what type of surgery, how many types of surgery for different types will come in the next 2, 3, 4 months, and then map that up to the hospital's resources that they have available so they are better prepared. But to create this solution, we cannot do it ourselves. Then it wouldn't work. We need to include the hospitals when developing these kind of solutions. So we've been working with a couple of hospitals here in Norway, one of them Louisenberg here in Oslo. And what we have done is, before we even wrote the first line of code, we went up there, talked with them, understanding their problems and what feature they really need. We even went as far as, me almost infiltrating them, postponing as a doctor to really feel what it is like to be in their shoes. And also, it's important to be close on them, to make them trust what we create with the algorithms and AI, for them to trust the output our solution give. And together with them, we created a solution we call Deep Insight Hero, for the hero of that work in the healthcare sector. And what we do is basically we use AI to generate plans in the future that tells the hospital what are to happen on a given operating room on a given day. So it could be on operating room 1, we should do 3 knee prostheses. And that makes it easy for the planners to slot in the right patient and to fill that OR. It also accounts for critical bottlenecks in the system, so we don't push more patients through than there are beds available, for example. And it also gives the planners suggestions on what patient, of the thousands of patients on the waiting list, who does fit in the program and are ready for surgery. And does it work? We've had it running for over a year at Luisberg, the hospital, and the result has been incredible. 12% increase in activity, vast amounts of time saved on planning. And these are numbers that top management and politicians screams of joy with when they see. But in the end, it's about the patients. And this counts for more than 1,000 more patients treated by planning and differently and using AI. That's 1,000 more people that are able to go back to their normal life sooner rather than later. That is why we are here. That is how we can use AI and mathematics to still provide a sustainable healthcare service in the future. And my time here is soon up, but our company is just in the beginning of the journey, and we are going to make some huge waves going forward in the healthcare sector. So thank you so much for your time.
Please welcome to the stage, from Vilma, Vega Samestad Hansen.
Hello. Thank you for the opportunity to present here. I'm Vegard Samestad Hansen, the CPO of Vilmer. So what we have done is that we have created more than 100,000 good moments for elderly using our own developed technology. We do this with an activity as a service model, and our platform is today engaging thousands of volunteers and paid contributors to contribute with good moments for elderly. And the interesting thing with our technology is that we can actually deliver a 2 to 4 times increasement in amount of activities in nursing homes at only a quarter of the cost. So it's a very sustainable solution, and the market is also attractive to be in as a private company. And why are we doing this? We are doing it because loneliness and inactivity is one of the largest healthcare challenges we do have, and also probably one of the largest problems we have as a society today. So today, over 1 million elderly in only the Nordics do experience loneliness. I remember my own grandfather at his final days. He usually said to me when I left him from my usual visits, okay, then I will lie down here, stare at the blank wall. So this is exactly what we want to do something about. And it's about time, because the care gap is really growing at this time. Healthcare workers say that they don't have time. There is a healthcare staff shortage that will increase from 7,000 to more than 50,000 within 2040. And families say that they don't have time to contribute, come for visits and help out the elderly. However, the local citizens do say that they do want to help out. There are a lot of people that want to contribute with good moments for elderly. And this is what we are trying to do something about. I'm sure that the one of you that are within this sector is very familiar with these graphs. The timing is definitely now. We can't wait. It's something that has been around the latest 20 years, but right now we really see that the gap between healthcare staff and elderly is hitting us and hitting also all institutions across the world. So let me tell a bit more about what we are doing. What we try to do is to make the elderly's life look more like this. We bring in physical activities, everything from dog visits to someone taking a coffee cup with an elderly, or someone coming, taking them for a walk. We also usually engage some celebrities to arrange bigger events, such as concerts and other larger events. How we are doing it? We have developed our own matching platform that maps out all the different activity needs from the institutions, the elderly living there. And based on that, we recruit and engage contributors from the local society. And for every elderly living out there, there are actually 5 people that want to contribute with some good moments. Some of them want to help out maybe once a month, others want to help out 12 hours a week, some do it for free, and some want to get a bit of a smaller payment that we also can arrange. Per today, there aren't really any specialized solutions that take advantage of this unused workforce. So they haven't been asked before we come in, usually. So our matching and coordination platform really connects these 2 needs together, and then we can increase the activity level they do have today. The result is a digital activity plan, a pre-made week filled with good moments for every elderly living in institutions. That contains both digital activities, physical activities, and everything that the elderly living there is interested in. It looks like this. Here are some images of the activities we recently have arranged. All of these are from the previous week. Here we have a store contributing with some free food. Here we have some dog visits, some digital lectures, a horse coming for a visit to a nursing home, and a lot of varying activities. And in the end here, we actually are able to reduce coordination costs that they do have from beforehand when it comes to arranging activities. We increase the activity level by 2 to 4 times. And at the same time, we increase the quality, at least according to our own NPS service to the citizens, on the activities itself. So we are just one out of many examples on how technology can really do something about the elderly wave, and at the same time, keep the quality of the life that I need in the end. Thank you.
Please welcome to the stage from Seema Manavrihel Kumar and Jakob Sverre Løvstad.
Hi everyone. We're going to speak a little bit about how we can do insight-based leadership training and connect diversity to value. So around 2015, there were numerous reports coming out that linked diversity to value creation, but they didn't really say how do you get the value out of diversity. And there was a saying in the private sector and public sector that diversity could be the new gold mine, so everyone were looking to how can we become more diverse. But the truth is that diversity doesn't automatically yield better results. Diversity brings a lot of complexity, but also a potential to do better. So whether you deal with the complexity in a good way and you actually get to the value that diversity can bring, that depends on how you manage diversity in the organization. And our job is to figure out what that depends on. So every organization is a village of its own, with its own culture, with its own way of doing things. So there is no one-size-fits-all when it comes to releasing diversity potential. So you need to figure out what is the truth and what is the culture in your organization, and how is that hindering or promoting diversity potential.
All right. So, as Manav said, this is kind of the old model, so to speak. But at this point, we have analyzed something like 7,000 data points in Norway across a multitude of different industries. I mean, it's retail, arts, oil and gas, whatever you want to point a stick at, we've been there. And this simplified model has been proven not to work. As he said, it all depends. And it also is individual to the organization. The mistake is often to take US research in particular and transfer it to individual organizations far from wherever they did the original research, and that has shown to be wrong. So, there has to be a different approach. And when we say that something depends, statistically speaking, we have to do something called multimediation analysis. So basically, as you bring more diversity into the organization, you see, as he said, that there's more complexity, but how that complexity is handled is mapped through the psychosocial variables individual to the organization. So, when we work, we come into the organization and we see this kind of thing, all right? We see that the diversity we map out through statistical methods, they do affect well-being, but also other variables like sick leave, turnover, how much billable hours you have per person, things like that. But we can also say, well, how does that happen? In this particular picture, you see that the main variables of interest are authenticity and development opportunities, which is, competence utilization, which is something that we could typically see. So if we were going to work with this particular organization, we would say, well, for diversity, we need to do something about the ability to be authentic. Is there enough psychological safety here? That kind of thing. We also have to look at whether or not people, especially diverse people, get to utilize their competence in their jobs. And that's where we have to look to see how we can create more value for the company. And this is another example of the same kind. Here you see, instead of well-being, we have billable hours. So it's both the soft variables and the hard variables. This makes it possible for organizations to create business cases out of something that is often perceived as a very soft domain. We can transfer that into, hardline, billable hours, for example, sick leave, turnover, things that do matter to the bottom line. Also, when we are saying diversity, we have an expanded model of what diversity is. At least in Norway, mostly when you hear people talking about diversity, it boils down to either ethnicity or gender. We also map out things like age, neurodiversity, socioeconomic class, all the things that contribute to the diversity experience. In addition, we also look at perspectives or perspective diversity, which means that all of us here have our perspectives, our opinions, our feelings, and so on under the hood. That is also shown to be very, very important in the workplace for performance. So, sir?
Yeah. So what we do when we work with organization is that we use the method that Jakob described to do an analysis of what is happening in your village, right? So that's the organization. And based on that, we tailor-make a leadership or a training program, and then we measure again after we've conducted it to see if you got the bottom line result you wanted. So for example, if your aim was to improve subjective well-being in the organization, we do the analysis, we see how much subjective well-being is affected by diversity, we do the training, and then we measure again to see if your diversity sensitivity for subjective well-being has gone down afterwards. So what we base all this on, and why diversity is important, is that leadership is usually easy when it comes to similarities. So if you apply your leadership skills, but you select people who are the same as you, leadership is quite easy. But leadership becomes challenging when you introduce diversity. And it could be a little bit diversity that's introduced, or a lot. And how the world is, and the way the world is developing right now, with more globalization, more diversity coming into workplaces, diversity competence is a basic leadership skill. That is something that every organization needs to focus on when developing leaders for the future. And this is our slogan. So what we do is to build future or diversity-ready organizations through statistical methods and tailor-made leadership training programs. And our primary goal is to take diversity from something that you do out of sympathy to something you do to create value. So looking at how we can create value based on the differences that exist in the organization. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Please welcome to the stage, from Trust, Malcolm Langford.
Dere consider? No. Research shows that if citizens are asked if they would like a court decision or an administrative decision to be made by a human or an AI system or a robot, they would prefer a human. Even more, research shows that we will tolerate failures by a human decision maker much more than an artificial decision maker. So in many contexts, particularly hard cases like decision making, AI has a lot of work to do to make itself trustworthy. But when we also ask citizens, would you prefer a human with AI to make a court decision or administrative decision, we prefer that combination more than just a human. And that shows the path or the potential for using AI in smart ways in which we don't compromise our moral values. So how do we get there? I represent Trust, which is one of the 6 new AI centres in Norway in research and innovation, which were announced two weeks ago by the Prime Minister. We are 150 researchers, 35 PhD candidates, who are focused on how do we get AI which is accurate, interpretable, for example, it's explainable, it's aligned with our values, it's inclusive of the voices that we want to hear when designing AI, it's safe, it's not going to cause harms, it's sustainable, it's also well-governed, and particularly, and something that's often missed in definitions of trustworthy AI, it works at scale. The more and more we start to roll out AI systems, the more and more we lose control of them in practice. And AI systems start to speak to AI systems and create emergent behaviors. So how do we have systems to govern this? We have 18 research partners in Norwegian institutions. We have 44 user partners from the public sector, the private sector, so from Equinor, a multinational, to the court administration. We also have civil society organizations like Amnesty, and we work with international partners like Cambridge, University of California, and so forth. We have 14 research areas, which includes everything from veridical AI, how we get truth and transparency in the way we pull together data. This keeps on moving for some reason. I can't seem to stop it, but anyway, it's got a mind of its own. It's controlled by AI, perhaps. I'll keep on trying to keep it back. We also are interested in responsible uncertainty quantification. So when you get an AI prediction, what sort of number are you going to get as to how certain the AI system is? Maybe it's 85% certain with a 10% confidence interval. What does that mean in practice? And how can we communicate to you in a language that you as a non-data scientist will understand what are the real risks here? Then how do we attribute what the system is doing? Explain what are the core features in this? How do we look at what's causing those predictions? How do we work with foundation models, generative AI, emergent behaviors when AI systems start to speak to each other, and so forth? We also have 15 action clusters with everything from healthcare, mobility, case processing, which I'll come back to, infrastructure, dealing with criminality and the climate crisis, but also technical solutions. For example, anomaly detection. How can you use AI to detect that something might be wrong in your system, that ID fraud is happening, or some form of criminality is happening in an ocean surveillance system? So if we come back to the example that I gave you at the beginning, from the Immigration Directorate in Norway, we've got 4 million documents on 120,000 asylum decisions. A very sensitive area of decision making with massive consequences for people's lives, a lot of personal data in those decisions, which makes it very difficult for the Immigration Directorate to work with AI on it or share it with researchers. But we developed a data infrastructure where we have all of these documents and decisions in a secure location that no one outside can access. And we can train machine learning models. We can even use large language models like our own version of ChatGPT to find patterns here to help decision makers avoid bias, to work more quickly, to perhaps improve the quality of their writing and their decision making. But we also have a system with automatic de-identification so that researchers and caseworkers can read individual decisions with an automatic masking of all the personal data, and it's calibrated according to their research needs. And what we're now doing in a new project, working with the Immigration Directorate and the courts, is testing out different models of AI. From very simple help mechanisms where they get better access to information, for example, on the human rights context in the countries asylum seekers are coming from, or summaries of facts and law, to more auto-generated aspects of decisions. But then we're testing out how do decision makers use that AI, and we'll look at the data analytics of their clicks and their eye movements. We'll have focus group interviews. We'll have expert assessments of the types of decisions they are making. Because at the end of the day, I think these 4 core elements need to be there when we are talking about trustworthy AI in practice, particularly in high-risk areas, but areas in which we have a lot of a possibility to not just increase efficiency, but improve quality in that we do. The first is to understand AI in context. What are the risks? But what are the user needs? What decision makers and asylum seekers and their lawyers need from AI systems? 2, what sort of models for trustworthiness can we develop? In the system we're developing, we're including explainable dimensions, uncertainty quantification dimensions. Thirdly, we need system thinking and governance. We don't know really the risks of AI, so we need a lot of scaffolding around it. We need feedback systems to help us at early stages learn what is going wrong and what is going right. And finally, we need to calibrate trust. Sometimes AI systems look like they're working too well, and we trust them too much. And we need to test them properly and communicate back to citizens, users, judges, and decision makers how accurate, how effective the AI predictions are, and what warnings need to be in place. Thank you very much.